Welcome to a deep dive, you guys, into green steel.
Ooh,
I
interesting.
know, right?
Yeah.
When I think about steel, I think about giant factories,
Yeah.
fire, smoke.
Yeah, not exactly like eco-friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
exactly.
Right.
So not the first thing that comes to mind when you think of like sustainability.
Yeah, right.
But we're going to learn today that the steel industry is actually like on the verge of this huge transformation.
Yeah, it's really
And we've got
fascinating.
two reports here. One from EY, they're a global professional services firm.
Okay.
And another one from Iberdrola. You've probably heard of them. They're a big energy company.
Hmm.
And they're both asking this really important question. Can steel, which is such a crucial material for us,
Oh, absolutely.
can it actually become sustainable?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question with like huge implications.
Yeah.
Both of these reports, both UI and Iberdrola, they highlight this like really stark fact, which is that steel production
Okay.
is responsible for something like 8% of global CO2 emissions every year.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, to put that into perspective, that's like the entire country of Germany's emissions
Wow.
just from making steel
Every year.
every single year.
Okay, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's a big number.
It is.
So it really kind of hits home,
Yeah.
like how big of a problem this is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's easy to forget, right? Like steel's just kind of there, like it's in our buildings, it's in our bridges,
Everywhere.
it's in our cars. We don't really think about it,
Yeah.
but it's coming at a big cost.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden, right?
Yeah.
But the environmental cost is there.
So why is it so carbon intensive?
Like, why is the traditional way of making steel
Yeah.
so polluting?
Yeah.
Well, it all comes down to the process. So
Okay.
the traditional way to make steel relies on these things called blast furnaces.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a picture of a blast furnace?
I think so. I'm picturing like these big like towers.
Yeah. They're massive, and they use fossil fuels, like coal, to
Okay.
generate these incredible temperatures. Wow, how hot does it get?
I mean, we're talking like almost 1700 degrees Celsius
Whoa, okay, so that's pretty hot.
to melt iron ore.
Wow.
And you can imagine to get to that temperature,
Yeah.
you're burning a ton of fuel
Yeah.
and releasing a ton of CO2.
Right, so it's kind of like we need the steel,
Yeah.
but the way we make it is contributing to climate change.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah, I know it feels a little bit like, how can we even
Hmm.
decarbonize something like this?
Yeah.
But here's the fascinating thing.
Okay.
Steel actually has this like inherent potential
Yeah.
for sustainability.
Really?
Yeah, because get this, steel is actually one of the most recycled materials on the planet.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And unlike a lot of materials, it doesn't degrade over time.
So you can just keep recycling it.
Yeah, you can recycle it endlessly without it like losing its strength or its durability.
That's amazing. Okay, so
Sure.
it's like it's this big polluter.
But the material itself is actually really good.
Yeah, it's like a recycling superstar.
Okay, so is that the solution then?
Like just use more recycled steel.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely part of the solution.
Okay.
Recycling steel takes way less energy
Right.
than making it from scratch.
Mhm.
But to really like decarbonize the industry,
Yeah.
we need to go further.
Okay, I'm listening.
And that's where the whole idea of green steel comes in.
Okay.
And EY, for instance, they lay out these three main like technological pathways
Okay.
to make steel production more sustainable.
Cool. Let's dive into those.
Yeah, let's do it.
What's the first one?
So first up, you've got carbon capture.
Okay.
And this basically means you're capturing those CO2 emissions from steel plants.
Okay, so before they're even released.
Yeah, before they escape into the atmosphere.
Okay.
And then you can do a few things with that captured CO2.
Oh?
You can store it underground,
Whoa.
or potentially even use it in other industrial processes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I was a steel producer,
Yeah.
would it be like a huge investment to install a carbon capture system?
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Yeah.
The tech is still pretty expensive,
Okay.
and the infrastructure to like actually capture and store or use that CO2 on a large scale,
Yeah.
it's still under development.
Okay.
So it has potential, but the economics of it
Yeah.
are still a bit of a hurdle.
Okay, so maybe not the easiest solution.
Right.
What's number two?
Pathway number 2 is switching to electric arc furnaces, or EAFs.
EAFs. Okay.
And these furnaces, they use electricity to melt scrap metal,
Okay.
which could be recycled steel.
Okay, so we're getting a twofer.
Yeah.
We're reducing reliance on fossil fuels, and we're reusing that scrap metal.
It's like a win-win, right?
Yeah. But wouldn't we need a ton more electricity?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
wouldn't that just shift the emissions
Yeah.
to, like, the power plants?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And that's where the source of electricity becomes really crucial. If we're powering these EAFs with fossil fuels, then we're not really solving the problem.
Right, right.
The ideal scenario would be to power them with renewables.
Okay, so like wind and solar.
Exactly.
Okay, so to really make EAFs green,
Right.
we need to make sure the electricity is green too.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected all these systems are. It's
Yeah.
not just about steel, it's about the whole energy system.
Totally.
And, this really underscores the need for us to massively expand renewable energy infrastructure
Yeah.
if we want to support this transition.
Yeah, but even with that, like even if we have EAFs
Yeah.
and renewable energy, aren't there still some emissions?
Yeah, that's true.
Like to make the electricity itself and to transport the scrap metal?
You got it.
Okay, so it's not perfect.
Yeah, there's a limit to how green this pathway can be.
Gotcha.
But it's definitely better than the blast furnace.
Oh, for sure. Way better.
Right.
All right, so what's the third option?
Okay, so the third pathway, and this is maybe the most ambitious, is hydrogen-powered steel making.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool.
It is pretty cool.
So instead of fossil fuels, we're using hydrogen.
Exactly. Instead of using fossil fuels to generate the heat,
Okay.
you're using hydrogen.
Okay.
And specifically, green hydrogen.
What does that mean?
So green hydrogen is hydrogen that's produced using renewable energy.
Okay.
So basically,
Yeah.
in theory,
Okay.
you could produce steel with almost zero emissions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay, so this sounds like the holy grail of steelmaking.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate goal.
But there's got to be some challenges.
Yeah, you're right.
What are they?
So this technology, it's still in its early stages.
Okay.
And there are these major hurdles to overcome.
Okay.
First of all, we would need a ton of renewable energy
Okay.
to produce green hydrogen on the scale
Yeah.
that we would need for steel production.
Right, because it's a global industry.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Second, the process itself, like how you actually make steel with hydrogen, it needs to be refined. It needs to be more efficient.
Okay.
And then third, the cost of green hydrogen
Yeah.
needs to come down
Okay.
significantly to be able to compete
Yeah.
with the traditional way of making steel.
Okay. Got it.
So it's a long-term solution.
Okay, so it's coming, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, a lot of potential, but still some ways to go.
Okay, so we've got carbon capture, we've got EAFs,
Yeah.
we've got hydrogen. That's kind of the technological landscape.
Yeah, and EY gives us that broad picture,
Okay.
but then Iberdrola, they kind of take a more focused approach.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so they really zero in on two pathways
Okay.
that they think are especially promising.
Okay.
So one is green hydrogen,
Okay, we talked about that.
which we just discussed.
Okay.
And then another is this thing called direct electrolysis of iron ore.
Okay, so direct electrolysis, is that like those EAFs we were talking about?
No, it's totally different.
Okay, tell me more.
Yeah, so with direct electrolysis, instead of using heat
Okay.
to melt the iron ore,
Yeah.
you're using renewable electricity
Okay.
to extract the iron directly from the ore.
Whoa, okay, so like zapping it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that doesn't use like a blast furnace or anything?
Nope, it basically bypasses the blast furnace completely.
Wow, okay, that sounds like a game changer.
Yeah, it's really cutting-edge technology.
Yeah.
And Iberdrola is actually working
Okay.
with a startup called Boston Metal to develop this.
Oh, wow, okay, so they're really investing in this.
Yeah, they're really betting on this technology.
Okay.
They see it as a potential game changer.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Right.
Okay, so we've got these technologies.
Yeah.
They seem promising.
They do.
But even if they work, how do we make it all work financially?
Yeah, you're hitting on a really crucial point.
Yeah.
The transition to green steel, it's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's also about the economics.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to dive into next.
Yeah.
What's the business case for green steel?
Wow.
What's the demand? What are the investments? What are the challenges?
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, going green might actually be good for business.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just about saving the planet.
Okay.
It might actually be a smart business move.
Interesting. Okay. I can't wait to learn more about that.
Me too.
All right, we'll be right back after a quick break. So green steel's going to need some serious investment, right?
Oh, yeah,
Like a lot of money,
for sure.
whether it's for carbon capture
Yeah.
or EAFs or even hydrogen, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But is there actually a market for green steel?
yeah. I mean, Are people actually going to buy it?
Yeah, can it be worth it?
Well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me.
We're actually seeing a growing demand for low-carbon steel.
Okay, so people are starting to care about this.
Yeah, it's becoming a bigger deal.
Okay.
And there are a couple of reasons for this.
Right.
So, on one side, you've got companies, they're feeling the pressure
Mm.
to be more sustainable.
Yeah, we're seeing that everywhere these days.
Right, like it's not just about reducing their own emissions anymore.
Okay.
It's also about the emissions from their supply chains.
Right, so like where they get their materials from.
Exactly. And those are often called Scope 3 emissions.
Scope 3 emissions, okay.
Yeah, have you heard of those?
I have, yeah, it's like everything, right?
It's the whole picture.
Yeah, yeah.
And those are becoming super important
Okay.
for companies that really want to be sustainable.
Right, so it's not just about like, I don't know, having solar panels on your roof.
Yeah, it's about the whole picture.
Yeah. Where's your stuff coming from?
Exactly.
Yep.
So for a company, it's not enough anymore to just make their own operations greener.
Okay.
They also need to think about the materials they're using.
Yeah.
And that includes steel.
Right, because steel is in so many things.
Oh, yeah, steel's a huge factor
Yeah.
for a lot of industries.
Yeah.
Think about the car industry.
Okay.
They use a massive amount of steel.
Right.
Like 12% of global steel production
Whoa,
goes into cars.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense when you think about it,
Right.
but still, that's a lot.
Yeah, and as car manufacturers are, trying to meet those stricter emissions standards and
Yeah.
trying to appeal to customers who care about the environment.
Right. Everyone wants an electric car these days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're looking for ways to decarbonize their supply chains.
Okay, so green steel fits into that.
Yeah, it becomes a key part of that.
It makes sense. Like
Right.
if you're selling an electric car
Yeah.
and you're like, this is a sustainable choice,
Yeah.
it doesn't really add up.
Yeah.
If the steel you use came from like a really polluting process.
Yeah, you got to be consistent.
Right. Okay.
So it's got to be the whole package.
I see. I see. So there's a real incentive for these companies to seek out green steel.
Big time.
Okay.
And it's not just cars.
Okay.
This is happening in a lot of industries,
Like what?
like construction, infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
consumer goods, packaging.
Yeah. Okay. So it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty much across the board.
Okay. And so companies are realizing that using green steel
Mm-hmm.
can actually be good for business.
Yeah, it can enhance their brand image,
Okay.
attract customers who care about sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
and help them meet their own sustainability goals.
Okay. So customers are one part of the equation.
Right.
But what about investors?
Oh, investors are a huge driving force here. They're increasingly factoring in ESG performance.
ESG. What's that stand for?
It stands for environmental, social, and governance.
Okay. So it's like the whole ESG package.
Yeah, it's all those factors.
Stat.
And they're looking for companies that are actively,
Yeah.
reducing their environmental impact,
Okay.
contributing to a sustainable future.
Right.
And using green steel is a tangible way for companies to do that.
Right. It's like you can point to it. You can say we're using green steel.
Exactly. It's a real concrete action.
Okay. I see. So it's not just like, a PR stunt.
No, it's a real thing.
Okay. So it's becoming a smart business strategy.
Yeah.
Companies that embrace green steel,
Mm,
they're more likely to attract investment
for sure.
and stay financially strong.
Okay, so this is a trend.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's here to stay.
Yeah. I think the momentum is definitely building.
Okay.
And this brings us to a really interesting point that EY raises.
Okay, what's up?
They argue that sustainability,
Hmm.
it's not just about reducing risks and costs.
Okay.
It can actually create new opportunities.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Well, for example, companies with strong ESG performance,
Yeah.
they often have access to lower cost financing.
Oh, that's a good incentive.
Right.
Okay.
It's like a reward for being sustainable.
Yeah. You get a better interest rate.
Exactly.
Right.
Investors are more willing to lend money to companies that are
Mhm.
taking environmental and social responsibility seriously.
Okay. So it's like sustainability is a form of collateral.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And EY also highlights how embracing sustainability can actually lead to
Okay.
better resource management,
Okay.
reduced operational risks,
Hmm.
increased resilience against future disruptions.
Okay. So you're more prepared for anything that might happen.
Yeah, it's about being more adaptable.
Yeah. Okay. I see. So it's not just about doing good.
Right.
It's also about doing well.
It's about creating a more robust business.
Okay. And EY mentions this thing called shadow carbon pricing.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
What's that?
Basically, it's where companies assign an internal cost to their carbon emissions.
Oh, okay.
So it helps them understand, like, what are the potential impacts
Oh, okay.
of future carbon regulations or taxes.
Right, because those were probably coming.
Exactly. So it's like a way to prepare
Yeah.
and identify opportunities for improvement.
It's like you're factoring in the hidden costs
Yeah,
of pollution that
exactly.
we don't normally think about.
Right, because those costs are often overlooked.
Yeah, okay, so the economic case for green steel,
Yeah,
it seems pretty compelling.
it does.
But there are still some challenges, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like,
Well, we already talked about the upfront costs.
yeah, the technology is expensive.
Yeah, and the need for, like, a ton of renewable energy infrastructure.
Yeah, we need to build all that stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
But there's another really important aspect.
I'm listening.
Collaboration.
Collaboration. Oh,
This transition to green steel.
yeah.
It's not something any one company or country can do alone.
Right, it's a global issue. It's got to be a team effort.
Okay, so who needs to be involved?
Well, you've got steel makers,
Okay.
energy companies, governments,
Mhm.
research institutions.
Wow, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, and even consumers.
Right, because we're the ones buying the stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
So each player has a role to play.
Okay, so what do they need to do?
So for example, steel makers,
Yeah.
they need to invest in R&D
Okay.
to make these green steel technologies
Yeah.
cheaper and more commercially viable.
Okay.
Energy companies,
Yeah.
they need to ramp up renewable energy production.
Okay, so we have enough clean electricity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Governments,
Yeah.
they need to provide incentives and policies.
Okay, so like tax breaks and stuff.
Yeah, things like that
Okay.
to support this transition.
Oh.
And consumers,
Yeah.
we need to be willing to support companies
Right.
that are making these sustainable choices.
Right, so like actually buying green steel products.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Even if it means paying a little bit more.
Right, we have to put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's this massive ecosystem
Yeah.
that needs to be transformed
Okay.
all at once.
Okay, so it's a lot of moving parts.
It is.
And it's not just about technology and economics, it's about changing mindsets.
It's about fostering innovation.
Oh, okay. How do we do that?
Well, look at Iberdrola.
Okay.
They're not just investing in green hydrogen and direct electrolysis.
Yeah.
They're actually partnering with startups.
Oh, like Boston Metal.
Exactly. They're working with Boston Metal to push the boundaries
Okay.
of what's possible.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
They're embracing experimentation.
Yeah.
They're embracing collaboration
Okay.
to accelerate this whole transition.
So they're not just talking about it, they're actually doing it.
Exactly. They're
Right.
walking the walk.
Okay, so their approach is very proactive.
Yeah.
It's like they're not just waiting for the market to change.
All right.
They're actually trying to shape it.
They're taking the lead. And that's what makes their perspective so interesting.
Yeah.
They're not just like talking about the challenges.
Right.
They're actually highlighting the opportunities.
Okay.
Remember those huge electricity demands we talked about?
Yeah, like double what all of Europe uses.
Exactly.
So a crazy
So
number.
it was mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But Iberdrola, they see that as a business opportunity.
Okay.
They're positioning themselves to be a key player
Uh-huh.
in providing all that clean energy
Yeah.
to power the green steel revolution.
So they're thinking long term.
Yeah, they're not just thinking about the next few years.
Okay.
They've actually set some really ambitious targets for themselves.
Okay. Tell me about those.
So they're aiming for 50% low-emission steel in their own operations
Okay.
by 2030.
Wow, that's soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their ultimate goal is zero-emission steel by 2050.
Okay, that's a big goal.
It is, but they're serious about it.
Perfect.
And they're not just talking about it.
Okay.
They've joined this thing called the Steel Zero Initiative.
What's that?
It's a global alliance of companies
Okay.
that are committed to using and procuring 100% net zero steel.
Wow. Okay, so they're really putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, they're all in.
It's really inspiring to see a company like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like really taking the lead.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes me wonder, like,
Mhm.
what about digitalization?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Like, we're talking about transforming a huge industry.
Right.
Technology has to be part of that, right?
Absolutely. Digitalization is a critical part of this.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, EY highlights how digital technologies can actually optimize every stage of the steelmaking process.
Oh, wow. Okay, so from start to finish.
Yeah, from mining the ore
Oh,
to making the steel,
yeah.
to transporting it, to recycling it,
Okay, the whole thing.
the whole shebang.
Okay, so it's not just about new ways to make steel.
Right.
It's about making the whole system smarter.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some examples?
Well, Think about sensors and data analytics.
Okay, yeah.
Those can be used to monitor energy consumption
Okay, in real time.
in real time,
Okay.
identify areas for improvement,
Yeah.
reduce waste.
Okay.
You can also use digital tools to track and trace materials.
Oh, yeah, that's important,
Right.
especially for recycled steel.
Exactly.
You want to know where it's coming from.
You want to make sure it's high quality.
Yeah.
So digitalization can bring a level of like precision and control
Oh, okay.
to steelmaking. That
Yeah.
wasn't possible before.
Okay, so we've got sensors, we got data.
Yeah.
What about blockchain?
Oh, blockchain.
Yeah, is that relevant here?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
So blockchain, it's not just about crypto.
Okay, I was thinking like Bitcoin.
Right.
Yeah.
But blockchain can be used for a lot of things.
Okay.
And in the context of green steel,
Yeah.
it can actually be used to verify
Okay.
the sustainability of steel products.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think of it like a digital passport for steel.
Okay, that's a good way to think about it.
Right.
Okay.
It proves that it was produced in a sustainable way.
Okay, so it's like a way to combat greenwashing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't just say, oh, yeah, we're green.
Right.
You have to prove it.
Exactly.
Ah.
So blockchain provides transparency,
Okay,
builds trust.
right, which is important.
Yeah, it's essential
Okay.
for creating a sustainable and ethical market.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
They have.
We talked about different ways to make green steel,
Mm-hmm.
the economics,
Yeah.
the challenges,
Mm-hmm.
investors, consumers,
Yeah.
collaboration, digitalization.
We did it all.
It's a complex issue,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but it sounds like there's a lot of momentum.
Yeah, I agree.
So the green steel revolution is happening.
It's happening.
It's not just an idea anymore.
It's becoming reality.
Okay, so what does it all mean for our listener?
Yeah, like what's the takeaway from all of this?
It's a lot to take in, right?
Okay.
Like, we've gone through all these different pathways to green steel,
Yeah,
all the economic, like, ups and downs,
for sure.
investors,
The
consumers.
whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's clear that, like, green steel isn't just some, like, niche thing anymore.
Right.
It's really becoming the, like,
It's going mainstream.
yeah, like the foundation
Yeah.
of this whole new industrial era.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is exciting.
Right.
But for someone listening, trying to, like, wrap their head around all this,
Yeah.
what's the main thing they should take away from this?
I think the most important thing is just understanding the scale of the change.
Okay.
Like, we're not just, like, tweaking things here.
Okay.
This is a fundamental shift
In steel industry.
in the steel industry,
Okay.
which is going to ripple out and affect, like,
Yeah.
pretty much every part of our lives.
Because steel is in everything.
Literally everything.
It's easy to
Yeah.
forget, right?
Oh, yeah.
You think about bridges and skyscrapers,
Yeah.
but it's also like,
In your
yeah, the cars we drive.
the appliances in your kitchen,
Yeah.
the packaging for your food.
Yeah. It's kind of wild.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
So as green steel becomes like more normal,
Yeah.
it's not just gonna, reduce the carbon footprint of all those industries.
Okay.
It's also gonna push innovation in totally new directions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like imagine lighter and stronger materials
Okay.
made from green steel.
Okay.
Products that last longer, that are easier to recycle.
Okay.
Buildings designed from the ground up to be circular.
Okay. So it's not just about
Yeah,
doing the same thing in a greener way.
right. It's about new possibilities.
Yeah. It's like opening up a whole new.
A whole new world.
Yeah. That's cool.
It is cool.
So for our listener, what can they do?
Yeah, what can they do to be part of this?
Yeah.
I think the first thing is
Okay.
become a more conscious consumer.
Okay. What does that mean?
Pay attention to where the materials in the things you buy come from.
Okay. So like look at the labels.
Yeah, like is the company transparent about how they make their stuff?
Okay.
Are they using recycled steel? Are
Yeah.
they using green steel?
Okay. So we have the power to like choose to
Exactly.
support the good guys.
Your purchasing decisions send a huge signal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
Okay. So what else can we do?
And then don't underestimate the power of your voice.
Okay.
Like, talk to your elected officials.
Okay.
Support policies that encourage green steel.
Okay.
Advocate for stricter environmental rules.
Okay. So like get involved.
Yeah, be an active citizen.
Okay.
Because this transition,
Yeah.
it needs to be driven by both consumers
Okay.
and by policymakers.
Yeah. So we need to push from both sides.
Exactly.
Right.
It can feel kind of overwhelming. Like
Yeah.
the climate crisis is huge.
Yeah, feels really big.
But all these little actions,
Yeah,
they add up.
they do.
And remember,
Yeah.
this isn't some far-off thing.
Yep.
It's happening right now.
Yeah.
Green steel's already being used.
Oh, really? Where?
Yeah, in construction projects,
Okay.
car manufacturing,
Okay.
even in wind turbines.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so the technology's getting better, the costs are coming down,
Okay.
and the momentum is building.
So it's like a snowball.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
more we do, the faster it happens.
It's kind of hopeful, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's like we're making progress.
Okay, so we've talked about green steel's impact on, like, industry and the economy
Yeah.
and the environment.
Hmm.
But what about our culture?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, how will this, like
How will changing the way we make steel
yeah.
change our values,
Yeah.
our aesthetics,
Mhm.
our relationship with the stuff around us?
Yeah, like, will it change the way things look?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm picturing a world where, like, sustainability
Yeah.
isn't just a box to check. It's,
Right.
like, built into everything.
Yeah, like it's just part of how we do things.
Yeah, like, we don't even think about it. It's just there.
Exactly.
And we think about, like, the whole life of a product.
Yeah, the whole life cycle.
Yeah, not just, like, how much it costs right now.
Right, but what happens to it later?
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And I think green steel could actually be a catalyst for that.
Okay.
Like, it's a reminder that innovation, it's
Yeah.
not just about making new things. It's about reimagining how we make the things we already use.
Right, because we already use a lot of steel.
Exactly.
We just have to make it better.
That's it.
That's a good message.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And it's a story that's still being written.
Yeah, for sure.
So to our listener out there,
Yeah.
keep learning,
Okay.
keep questioning,
Mm-hmm.
keep imagining the possibilities.
Of a world built with
With green steel.
green steel.
Yeah,
I like that.
it's a good one.
That's a good place to end it, I think.
I think so too.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
into the world of green steel.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it has.
Until next time.
Stay curious.